Hey, today we're going to learn more about learning from others and when you should. Others might hold valuable clues to your pathway of success. Today we're going to tell you why you should listen to them. Here we go.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, happy Tuesday.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm good, except what you predicted the other day about things I need to do and the time I'd have to do it is very true.
Do you want to share more so that others aren't like...
Well, when we start the program, I posted to a couple of locations on Facebook, and I hit the wrong button this morning, and it didn't do what it was supposed to do. And then I got flustered, and then so now I'm doing it right now as we speak. So if you're on the my business page, you are now seeing this come up. But yeah, so a little behind the scenes.
So you're not really paying attention to this conversation. You're trying to do something.
I'm not. The other thing I want to tell everyone is it was really hard to do that introduction today because right beforehand, Tom's like, didn't really speak to me, or he said something really negative about it. And like, great. Now, keep in mind, people, the introductions, we had an agreement that we were each going to write them and we'd pick the best one. And to my knowledge, so far, I've only seen 5 of them.
Well, we've had 2 days, so that's not bad. 5 in 2 days. That's a lot of things to consider.
No, 1 each day I did my homework.
Oh,
yeah.
Fair.
See?
Fair enough.
So
calling me out to everybody else. Wow.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be a Tuesday like that.
Man. And, we should go back and think about what was it that you said about my comment?
You said it was something that made me feel negative about it. I don't know if you said it didn't speak to me, I think is what you said.
Right.
But I found it difficult to do it after that. That feedback. And maybe I shouldn't have listened to you. Maybe I should have just powered through like I did. I almost said, hey, now let me read an introduction to you that Tom doesn't like, and then did it. But I stopped myself.
Did I say I didn't like it?
You did not.
Yes.
But that's how I heard it.
You took it as negative.
That's how I heard it, yes.
Rather than just another comment.
Yes.
You could have been like, that's all right. I wrote it. He didn't. I feel good about it. I'm going to share it. Someone else will find value in it.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not. All right, we should keep moving.
We should. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Antidote, not today's Tom and Bob argument about what's valuable and not valuable. We hope that you are enjoying watching this podcast. Maybe not yet so far, or watching this broadcast. And if you are watching the broadcast, please feel free to share any comments you have about our topic, which today is learning from others and when to learn from others. So please feel free to share your thoughts at the end of the show.
We've got some great comments already, Tom.
We do.
From John. He hit the wrong button. He's saying, that's why I said, and didn't do what it was supposed to do, LOL. Yes, that's exactly what I said, because I hit the wrong button and it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Whereas really, I hit the wrong button and I made it go wrong. And then from our good friend Frank, Bob Graham, Thomas talking smack about his Buffalo Bills. Oh, boy. And it begins.
I was just sharing some insight with some others the other day about some people were making comments about their team and their quarterback, and I just shared that, from all the quarterbacks in that draft, there's one that got their big extension, and that the fan base has no doubt whether or not they are the quarterback for the future.
And that would be the Buffalo Bills for you folks who are not paying attention back at home. And Tom, a lifelong Buffalo Bills fan. And how many Super Bowls have the Buffalo Bills won ever?
They have participated in 4 in a row, mind you, at one point.
Yes, which is an accomplishment, but never won it.
Can they control that?
No. Oh, you're just pulling out all the gems.
That's part of the thing. I think so often we think that, oh yeah, our team controls everything. When in reality, there's a team of officials on the field. There's another team. There are conditions that they have to deal with.
Yes,
There are
there's a
things
lot.
that happen. So that's just all. I was just sharing some
That's
thoughts and
fine.
ideas. So
I'm going to throw another comment up. My sister Beth is with us, and she says, "Good morning, Bob and Tom." So, good morning, Beth. Happy
good
to have
morning,
you
Bob.
here.
Yeah, this is great. We are, as the title shares, we're learning from others. As John and Frank and Beth share their value, just like you did with the opening statement. So we will get to that in a minute. Again, continue to share your comments, and at the end, Bob and I will share our one thing about the topic. If you have some thoughts on that, please feel free to share it as well. If you are listening to the podcast, there's no place to put comments. Sorry about that. You can, though, go to our Ring of Renegades Facebook groups and share your thoughts and ideas in there with others who are trying to find their own unique pathway to success. So we look forward.
Or you can speak them out in the gym while you're exercising out loud, and people will think you're crazy, or you can yell at us in your car if you so choose, and people will look and go, oh, this is a passionate discussion, when you know you're really just exercising your right to speak freely.
To share.
Yes, to share.
If that moves you, please feel free to do that. So now we probably ought to get to our first real segment of the show, which is our celebrations. What are you celebrating today, Bob?
I had the privilege of, for the first time, I bought some food from one of those mail delivery food services where they bring all the ingredients like HelloFresh and Blue Apron.
Yes.
And I made myself a really nice dinner late last night, and everything was there. And I had some, what was it? Pecan encrusted chicken and a lovely salad. And it was easy and fun, and it tasted amazing. And so it was a really good meal. It wasn't real hard. And I was really worried that it was going to require, I can cook a little bit, but I didn't want to work real hard. And it was just really good. And then I ate it while I watched the big football game. So it was a perfect evening.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, those are fairly, if you can follow directions for the most part, you can make a pretty good meal. We get them fairly regularly. We have been for a while, and
I think I might do that more often. My only problem was I got 2 servings and I ate both servings. It was so good.
Well, don't judge yourself. It tasted good. You ate it.
That's it.
And I would argue the servings that they provide, while are enough, sometimes you want a little bit more. So
yes. What are you celebrating, Tom?
So I'm celebrating that, it was interesting. We, as I shared yesterday, and people may have wondered, that I was at the Bills game, the Buffalo Bills football game on Sunday. And it ended up, when I first got the tickets, the game was supposed to be at 1. Well, it shifted to 4:25, which I was a little concerned about, because I know, all right, the game gets over at 8. It's a 5+ hour drive. It's going to be a lot at night. And who knows what the weather's going to look like. And so what I'm celebrating is the fact that in the middle of our drive home, my wife and I were like, she has the ability to work from home, work remotely, and I have my own business, and so I also have that choice. And so we chose to, let's stop and get a hotel. We'll stay over. We'll get up and make our way back tomorrow, and we can do some work along the way, or we can do some work early, as we did the show early yesterday. And then I was able to get home and do some work then. And so I'm just celebrating the opportunities that are available, for us to take our own unique pathway. And one of those pathways can be working remotely, and the freedom that provides. That's what I'm celebrating today.
I like that. That's a good one. And not everyone takes advantage of that freedom when they can do that.
Not everyone has the opportunity to.
Yes.
There are jobs, positions where that's not an option. And so that's why I'm celebrating, because I feel blessed to have those opportunities where I didn't feel like we got to power through it. We'll get home at 3 a.m. so that I can be at my office desk at 3 a.m. or at 9 a.m. Yep. So Bob, what is the nation celebrating?
We have a couple of folks that sell travel. They're travel agents. Yes. And it is National Shop for Travel Day.
Really?
So this day, every year, is the day where you're supposed to start thinking about that summer travel, that summer trip that you want to plan. And now's the time to start booking it. Now's the time to start thinking about it, planning for it, putting the money aside, whatever you need to do. So if you're in the Ring Renegades and you want some travel agent advice, we've got a couple of folks. Two travel agents, I think, are in there that I know of. And then a third one is a spouse of one of our members.
Yes.
So
excellent.
Yeah.
It's good for thinking about, especially considering at least in the mid-Atlantic and I think the Northeast, the temperatures are supposed to be in the single digits. So
yes,
it might be
it
a really
cold.
good time for you to think for your mental health about where you want to be that's nice and warm this summer.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent day to celebrate. That's good. It's interesting. I walked downstairs this morning to my office and realized that I did not take advantage of yesterday's day of Clean Your Desk Day. And likely I might have to do some of that today. So
we had a poll in the Ring of Renegades Facebook group where people were posting their desks. It was interesting. You'll have to post your picture.
By the time I got home, I was like, I'm not taking a picture. I'm going to post it. So
okay.
All righty. So before we dive into our topic, just a reminder that at 11 a.m. this morning, we have our From I Wish to Success, the Renegade Way workshop. 11 a.m.
Got lost there, didn't you?
No, I just didn't know what I was talking about. Actually, I did, but so it's 11 a.m. Eastern time. We look forward to seeing you there. Hopefully, you'll be able to join us. If you're not able to do that yet, still want to participate, there is another date. It is January 20th, Thursday, at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So we hope that that's just a reminder for those of you who are either thinking about participating or had already signed up and maybe just need a little reminder. So given that, let's dive into our topic, learning from others.
A comment from Jean, one of our travel agents. Didn't know this. She means the Shop for Travel Day, but plan a vacation day is later this month. So
wait a minute. There's a Shop for Travel and a plan a vacation day.
Apparently the travel lobby is doing very well with these things.
Much better than the Renegade Day lobby.
That's right. The Renegade Day lobby not doing a thing.
It's not moving the needle.
I'm going to declare the day Renegade Day no matter what.
Absolutely.
It's done. It's
All right.
done. All right.
We've decreed that. Excellent.
We have, yes. So we're talking about listening to others.
Or learning from others, but that's
learning from others. Yes.
And when to.
Thank you. That's what that slide said at the beginning, right?
Yeah. So sometimes you can.
That's what that last opening I wrote talked about, right?
Yes, it did. So do you want to share some additional thoughts about learning from others?
Sure.
And when to?
Yeah, I think when to is always. I think there's always an opportunity to learn from other people. I think it's one of the most underappreciated and undervalued aspect of figuring out whatever you're trying to do. I think there's information all around us. It doesn't always have to be Tom, let me tell you what you're doing wrong with this podcast. It could just be you listen to another podcast and they do an introduction that really oh, wow, that was really crisp. How can we incorporate that? Could be you read a book about podcasting. Could be that you heard someone make a comment about their podcast on NPR. And they said, the thing about our podcast is it felt long and we shortened it. And you go look and it's like, oh, they went from 40 minutes to 25 minutes. And you go, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting. There's a lot of information out there. And I think often we put our blinders on. We don't look for it. And I always like to joke about how there was a period of my life where I spent a lot of time in doctor's offices, and there were magazines in those offices back then. And I would there was nothing to do. I'd open every magazine and there'd be information in Cosmo that could be useful. There was a great article in Cosmo, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago about how to take the perfect selfie. And it was like, that's not where I expected to find that information, but it was good information. And I think most people would say, what's a guy reading Cosmo for? But just thumbing through, it's like, oh, that's really valuable information. I think we tend not to make available to ourselves all the sources of information, especially when people want to share with us what they have to say. Hey, I think I don't like the way you guys do this. Okay. Most people say, hey, you know what? It's our program. Then don't listen or don't watch. I think you and I would be like, do tell us. Give us your perspective, give us your insights. And we're even going through that. We've been going through that with our website with someone that we both trust. And the information we got was on some levels hard to hear, but it's propelled us in a really good direction that I don't think we would have gotten to otherwise. And I think it's a better direction for us in the end. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's funny when I was putting together the images and thinking about this show, it almost seemed like it was too easy. Because I think you gave the answer that makes complete sense, is that we should always be learning from others. And I think that the challenge is being aware enough to do that. It's kind of like, that thing that you see that you're like, oh, I saw that tool that I needed. And I said, okay. But you don't need it at the time. And so you don't think about, what might I do with this? And maybe even like, why is it there? It's not where it is. And sometimes I think rather than putting it back where it's supposed to be, we leave it. And then, sometime in the future, we're like, well, where was that tool? I know I saw it somewhere. It's not where it's supposed to be. Where would it be? So it's almost like that time when you really need the information when it's hard to find it. And I think sometimes that's how we learn. We often are learning all the time, and yet we can't always call that back up when we need it. And I think, and I don't know that this, I think it kind of goes along with what you were saying, is that it's always, and it's that we never know when we're going to need it. And so that's the value of, even when we don't think we need to be learning, that's a really good time to try to say, what is the one or two things I'm going to take from this? I think about that with, how many times have you sat in a presentation or a speech or a team meeting and listened to somebody drone on about something like, I'm not gaining anything from this. And I think that almost closes us off to the opportunities that could be staring us right in the face if we were taking the time to actually focus and listen. And I'm not saying that, there aren't times when there is something that's of very little value that has a very small impact on what you're doing. And I think what happens, though, is we turn ourselves off to the possibilities based on either how it started, some statement they said, something that we didn't agree with. And so we turn off our listening and our learning, and likely have an opportunity to miss something. And so, I think that hopefully adds to what you're saying and gets maybe to have a little different perspective about what we have the opportunity to learn that we don't think we're ever going to really use, or that we don't agree with. And I think that's sometimes that we turn off our opportunity to learn because we believe there's no value in what someone is saying or doing or sharing, or that we,
or it could be that we're afraid that someone else is going to tell us that we have a crazy idea and we should stop doing what we're doing. I mean, I think I feel that fear sometimes when people are, hey, why do you do this? And like, what someone asked me a couple weeks ago, it's like, what qualifies you to coach someone? And I was taken aback by it. This was in a social setting. And I'm like, well, I do this is where I am. And at the end, they're like, wow, yeah, you'd be really good at that. At first, my reaction was, well, this is a threat. Danger, danger, danger. And I had to pull back and say, tell me more. The other thing, Tom, is I think we're looking for like these big signs, like, duh. And it's not always glaring. It's, I've been to church a couple times down here at the beach, and the pastor that does the sermon has been using his iPad. And he's very skilled at somehow he can follow his presentation on his iPad. I've watched it for 4 or 5 weeks. And finally this week I went up to him after church. I'm like, this is going to sound totally crazy. Is it possible for me to pick your brain for like 5 minutes sometime? Because I do presenting and I've never been able to work it with an iPad the way you do. And he was like, you're joking. I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. I don't know what the magic is. I don't know if you have software or whether. And he was like, seriously. I'm like, here's my website. Go look. You can see I speak. I would love to be able to do it from my iPad, not paper or my computer. And he's like, okay, we'll find a time. That may be earth shattering to me. That may be very simple. That may be something that he explains it to me and I go, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't like it. But that inquisitive nature, I think, is really key to figuring things out that other people might not figure out. And when we figure things out that other people don't figure out, I think that's where the opportunities lie. Right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's very, I was thinking about something completely different, so I apologize. I was trying to put that all together in my head, and I was listening to your story, and I think there's, when you said somebody asked you about being a coach and what makes you qualified to be a coach, and the first thing that went through my head was, well, that you have different knowledge, experience, and perspective than someone else. So if you are further along the pathway, even a step further than them, then you have the opportunity to coach someone. I go to the gym, and I was in there the other day struggling with this core exercise. And, and I feel like I'm not the 6-pack ab person, although I'm trying to get there, that I couldn't. It was one of those things that I almost felt like it was my back wasn't allowing me to do this. You would lay down on a bench with a weight, your feet on the ground, and then try to roll back up while keeping your feet on the ground. And so I was struggling with it, and the coach came over and we were talking about it. And, I tried to then incorporate some of the things because the class was almost over, and I tried to incorporate them afterwards. And she came back over and we were talking about it. And, it was, she had knowledge about, well, this is like a really deep inner core muscle.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, that just may not, you may have to do some of these other things to help develop that may allow you to think differently or do something differently. Like, don't do it with the weight. And I was like, well, the weight's not really very heavy, and it doesn't seem to, and I almost felt like if my back could have stopped a little shorter, I would have been able to, whatever. She had knowledge and information that I didn't have. And so that's why she was able to be a coach. She was able to share this with me, keep me accountable. And so I think that's...
She was also able to be a coach because you were willing to be a student.
Yes.
It's a two-way street.
You're absolutely correct.
You can't coach a person who doesn't want to be coached.
Yes. And you can't learn from someone who doesn't... You can't
learn from someone who's not willing to share.
Correct.
I mean, you may be able to learn some things. You can observe things, but you can't... It's not the deep learning. But I think that really is, when we talk about learning from others, it's got to be our willingness to learn, and also our comfort and how we make that person feel so that they feel it's worth the investment of sharing. I mean, there are people in my life that I'll share anything with them. And there are people in my life where, I give them a very short answer. Well, I just did this. Other people, I explain the logic of it and the whole sequence of it, because I know they will use that knowledge and perspective to take their vision of what the world is and do really amazing things.
Sure. I think that's, if I was going to jump ahead and give my one thing, I
Go
think
ahead.
It's that when to learn from others, I think is, yes, it is always. And I think that what's implied in there is that we are always open to learning. And so I would almost put in the caveat that when to is when we really don't think we want to, or we don't believe that we should. I was thinking about through that conversation, the idea of having difficult conversations. If I'm a leader and, performance reviews, those type of things where they are already set up to be sort of adversarial, depending on how you have, worked with someone throughout time. And I think so often the person that you are evaluating, measuring, that you supervise comes into that defensive. And especially depending on what the relationship is or has been. And so often it is very easy to tune out and be like, I don't want to listen to this, because all they're going to do is gripe and complain about silly little things. And they're not going to mention all the other things that I did that were positive and beneficial. And so in reality, I think sometimes you go into those things and you tune it out. So like I'm choosing not to learn now. And an opportunity where you really have a chance to potentially gain some beneficial information and knowledge. And, it also is funny, this just popped into my head. I remember when I was in high school, for a while, I was the sixth man on the basketball team, I think my sophomore year in high school, on the varsity basketball team. And our coach was loud, loved him, and he was loud. And so often he was yelling to me about the people on the court. Like, it wasn't something that I'm sitting there, I'm not doing anything. And yet I think he was trying to share with me what he was seeing that others could have done differently. And probably also just getting out some frustration and anger. And so sometimes I know I would tune out and I'd be like, okay, yeah, I 100% agree. And other times, though, I think I really spent the time and listened, because it would help me see, well, hey, if this is what they're doing that he's not seeing as correct, if I want more playing time, I'm going to go out there and do what I think they see as correct. And it could be very easy. Could have been very easy for me to just completely shut it off and just be like, yep, and then go out and do the exact same thing. And so I think my one thing is that I would really encourage you to try to learn from others when you really don't want to. Because I think sometimes we will find those nuggets that we never thought we would ever imagine. Like, you probably never thought that going to church, you might gain a skill that might be really beneficial, yet you were open to it. And so you might pick up something that could dramatically change how you do presentations. And you probably never would in a million years would have thought that was the opportunity.
Well, and I was going to piggyback on what you said and just say that, it's not always a straight line to discovery of new information. Sometimes others are doing things. Sometimes others are doing the opposite of what you do. I've said to many people who have really bad bosses, hey, you know what? One day you're going to be a boss. Watch and learn. There are a lot of lessons right here. And they're like, oh, I hate being hey, absorb everything in the meeting. I'm not saying do it all, but what doesn't work? Because if we don't know if we know what doesn't work, sometimes that helps us find what works. And I think the other thing is we just have to want to learn. If you don't have a desire to learn, to get better at whatever you're doing, this whole discussion was a waste of time. You have to really want to learn. You have to really want to grow. You have to really understand things in new ways. And because of the world we're in now and how quickly it changes, you kind of don't have a choice.
Although I would also say that I think we're at a time where people don't want to learn, right, where they believe that what they believe, what they are doing is right.
Yes.
And that there is no other option. And so they stop, even if you are on completely diametrical sides of whatever discussion you're having, whatever action you're taking, there is something that you could learn from the other person if you were willing to actually be open to learning that, rather than just being set in, I have all the knowledge, experience, and perspective that I need. I don't need to learn from anybody else. Okay. That's possible. Yet what's real for you might not be all that you need to be what's real. So,
All right. That's
excellent.
a great discussion. A lot of nuggets in there.
There's a well, and it's interesting. You could say the same thing. People could listen to the start of the show and be like, those two knuckleheads, what do they know? They can't even get buttons right. They're arguing about what their intro should be. And turn it off. Be like, okay, I'm not going to gain anything more from this. Or they could say, you know what? I'm going to get through that early noise. Well, I mean, we're not really trying to educate people at the start of the show, right? We're trying to share what's real for us, talk about celebrations.
But I think the celebrations have an educational component.
I 100% agree. Others may be like, just get to the topic, guys. That's what and I think when we do that, we maybe miss the opportunity to learn something that we shared at the beginning through our celebration or just our early conversation.
That's why they have fast forward, Tom.
Well,
and that's why you can watch this program or listen at double the speed.
Except then you're only listening to what you think you want to listen to.
Indeed. Yep.
Which maybe misses the opportunity to really see wow, I didn't notice that. That might have been something that could have been really beneficial, but I'll never know because I fast forwarded through it and I didn't pay attention.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you have your one thing that you'd like to share and you are watching the broadcast, please feel free to put it in the comments, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, or
LinkedIn Live.
I sort of jumped in on that, and so LinkedIn Live. If you are listening, as we said at the beginning, to the podcast, and you stuck through us to this point, you might have learned something. So share it within the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, because we know that when you share your value, others may not be looking for it, and they may find something that really makes a difference for them. So please feel free to go into our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share your thoughts and the value that you have, your today's antidote, so that others can figure out how to move forward along their own unique pathway to success. And as Bob is putting in the comments, if you are watching this, don't forget, if you are really looking forward to go from I wish to success, and maybe initially thought, what am I going to learn from that? If you're someone who's saying that I don't think I'll learn anything from that, you are the perfect candidate to come join us.
Yes.
And if you are thinking that you really are looking forward to it, you're also the perfect candidate. So we look forward to, so everyone basically is the perfect candidate to join us at our workshop.
For equal opportunity here.
Correct. At 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you need more information about that, just click on the link that Bob put in there. Or if you are listening to the podcast, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com, go to programs, click on From I Wish to Success. You get all the information that you need. And so we look forward to seeing you at 11, or we'll see you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. And if neither of those, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and start putting together those travel plans.
I might just do that.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.